Hello there and welcome to another Partners in Crime tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to make a kind of cartoony kind of cursor click in Blender. So this is just a quick animation that we've made. I want to show you guys how to just quickly make it in Blender. So this is what you should get when you're finished with the tutorial, and let's get started. So first thing you want to do is you want to have Blender opened up on your computer and you want to delete the default cube. So type X on your keyboard and select delete, and that'll delete the default cube. So type numpad 7 on your keyboard to go into top view, and then we want to bring our camera into this view. So type control and then alt and then numpad 0 to bring your camera into front view. So what we're going to do now is going to kind of clear up our scene so that we can add in our cursor and our background and not have the grid and the lamp over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the lamp, type X and click delete to delete it, and type in to bring up this side menu. So you want to scroll through this side menu with your scroll wheel, and you want to select the display section, and you want to deselect the X and Y lines so we don't see those green and red lines anymore, and deselect grid floor so that we don't see the grid floor, and just deselect these other options as well. So now we've got a basically clear scene and we can add in our cursor. So let's collapse this menu by typing in, and let's add in the object that's going to be our cursor. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a text object, and then we're going to use a font called arrows that'll make any text we type look like arrows. So let's add in that text object. So type shift and then A on your keyboard, and once the add dialog pops up, select text, and we're going to erase text. So type tab on your keyboard, erase the text, type a capital D, and then press tab to exit text edit mode. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the font data tab. So select that there and click this folder here, and we will include the arrows font in the description of this video. So you want to have that downloaded, and yeah, you want to have that downloaded before you proceed with the next part of the tutorial. So you want to direct Blender to where you've downloaded the font on your computer, and you can use the search bar up here to search for it, and select arrows and click open font. Now we've got our arrow font here. So what we want to do now is we want to center the object's origin. So let's shift control alt and then C, and origin to center of mass. And now we can type Alt G to get our arrow into the center of the screen, and we're going to type Alt C curve, and that just converted our text object to a curve object so that we can manipulate the vertices in this to make it look like more like a mouse cursor. So we're going to shift D and duplicate this off to the side, left click to confirm that movement, and that's just so we have an extra arrow over here just in case we mess this one up. So right click on that, type tab, hold down shift and your middle mouse button to pan around, and scroll up to zoom in, and right click on this corner here, hold down shift, right click on this one, and this one. And now if you left click on the screen arrow here and just pull that up, you can see we get the more mouse cursor shape by pulling up this section of the arrow. So if you release left click, you should get that nice cursor there. And you can press tab to exit edit mode, and shift D duplicate that off to the side, and left click to confirm that. And so we have an extra shaped cursor there. So let's edit the shape of this one more. We're going to give it kind of a round bottom here. So what we're going to do is right click on it and type tab to go into edit mode, and let's right click on this handle here, and then let's type G, and you can see that that kind of manipulates and gives it kind of a bump out or bump in when you move that handle. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this handle as well. We're going to move it up, and it's just going to round the bottom of this, or as it's rotated now, the top of it. So hold down shift and right click on that, left click on the screen arrow, and pull the handles up and release left click. And now that you've released left click, you can type SX, and you just want to pull these handles out so that we get a little bit of a a larger rounded bottom here, and left click, and you can move the handles down just a little bit and with left click. So if you type tab to exit edit mode, you can see we have a nice rounded bottom cursor. So let's shift D and move that off to the side, left click to confirm the movement. What we want to do now is we're going to add in a background, give the material, and then we're going to give material to our text object so that we can change the colors and such of it. And after that, we should be able to get into animation. So Shift A, Mesh, Plane. And this plane is going to be our background. So let's give it a new material. Go into the Material tab and click New, and click Shadeless. And put the diffuse box down to black or a dark blue. So you can basically make the background any color you want. So we're going with dark blue now, or dark purplish blue. And you want to size this up to be really big. So S15, enter. And then type Z until you see it's behind your, and move your cursor until you see that our background is behind our cursor. So left click to confirm that. And now we want to right click back on our actual the cursor we're going to be animating, and click New, and Shadeless. And now what we want to do is we want to get a more accurate representation of how our colors should look in the Blender viewport, and to do that we should go into the Materials tab. Alright, so now you can see that our white's looking a little bit brighter, and it's fairly good. Now let's say we want to give our cursor a black outline. So what we would do is we could Shift D this, right click to cancel the movement, and click plus, add a new material and make it black. So you can just click this plus here to add that new material, and you want to move it behind our first text object, so GZ minus 0.001, and type enter. So that just moves it ever so slightly back this way. So let's numpad 0 to go back into camera view. And now what we'll do is go into the curve object data tab, and we'll change the offset of it. And you can see that gives us a really nice cartoony outline, and you can make it as thick or as thin as you want. But just to make the animation look a little bit more fun, we're gonna go with the thick outline. So if you right click back on this, we can make it a little bit of a brighter white in the materials section, and that looks pretty nice. Okay, so I selected that over there. Let's select back our background, and to make sure we don't accidentally select our background when we're animating, let's select this cursor over up here, and that'll make sure you won't be able to select it in the viewport. So now we've got our cursor, and we've got our background, and we basically got our scene set up. What we're going to do now is we're going to get into the fun part of animating our cursor. So we're going to have it smoothly animate, so let's make sure we have AV sync on, and we have our frame rate up to 60 frames per second in the render settings. Now that we have our scene settings here, let's add in the object that's going to control the animation for our cursor, and that will be an empty. So Shift A, empty, and plane axis. So now what we're going to do is use the middle mouse button to pan around. You can see the empty is basically placed at the center of our cursor, and that's good. So we stop using the little mouse button to pan around, and what we're going to do is type numpad 0 and type B, and left click and drag this box over all this, and then hold on Shift, right click on the empty, and right click on the empty again, and type Control P and object keep transform. And if you right click on the empty and move it, you can see it controls the position of our cursor, and that's great. So now what we're going to do is we want to rotate our cursor more so that it looks more like a cursor is supposed to be rotated, kind of like the one that I'm recording with right now. So let's rotate it so that it gets more of that look. So RZ 180, enter, and that just rotated it completely around so that it's more accurately rotated. And for a cursor, we want it to be slightly tilted, so RZ, just slightly tilt that, and left click. And that looks really good. And if you move it across the screen, you can see we can get a general idea of how we're going to be animating this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use auto keyframing. So basically, as we play the animation, we're going to move our cursor across the screen, and we're going to have the keyframes automatically insert themselves. So hit pause, and we want to do it until we get the animation just right. So there's probably going to be a lot of trial and error, and we're going to make sure that we don't have if you play this through, we don't want to have this jump back to the beginning too soon. So we're going to have to set the end frame rate way far off here. And now we can get started with our auto keyframing. Okay, let's see. Let's type G and left click over here and rewind to the beginning and record keyframes. Play this through. G, left click, S, and if you rewind this, you can see we've got the mouse coming up here, and then we use the sizing to make it look like it's clicking in. So that gives it a nice, cute sort of animation. And it's kind of jerky, so we're going to go into the dope sheet by splitting the screen here. Dope sheet. We're going to delete all the keyframes for this object, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it again until it looks a little bit nicer. And then we're going to smooth out the keyframes. So type X and delete keyframes. Rewind. Move this off to the side by typing G and left clicking. And play. And rewind. So we still get that kind of jerkiness, and let's play. Let's do this one more time. X, delete keyframes. So what we do is we play the animation, and then we type G on our keyboard to move in our cursor. And then after that, we'll left click to confirm the location of the object, and then we would type S and just move our cursor out and then in, or rather in and then out, and then in again, and that just gives it the illusion that it just makes it look like it's clicking. So you want to pay close attention to the keys we're pressing down here. Okay, so type click play, G, left click, S out, and it's already starting to look a little bit better, and we're just going to do this until we get it right. So G, and play this. G, S, alright, that looks pretty good so far. At this point, we can go into the graph editor and we can smooth out the keyframes by typing Alt O O O. So that should be smooth enough. Rewind and type Alt A. And that's looking pretty good. So we got the mouse cursor coming in, and we've got the left click. Well, we've got the left click animation. It looks like it's pressing down on something, and that looks pretty nice. Now what you can do now is you can kind of give it something to click on and make it change colors when the object is done clicking. So let's do this. Let's Shift A, curve, circle, add a new material to it, make it a shadeless material, and make it a yellow for now, and go into the curve object tab and make it 2D. So let's make our cursor come in, and you want to type GZ and make sure that this is behind our cursor by moving your cursor after typing GZ and left clicking. And you want to turn off auto keyframing at this point because you don't want everything automatically keyframed, and you can delete this keyframe by typing X and clicking delete over there. And you see about this frame is the click in animation. We'll put the dot up here. We'll click S and scale it and left click. G, left click. Alright, so now let's rewind and play this. Alright, so we've got the yellow dot here, and let's make it change blue when the click comes down. So we got it yellow now. Hover your cursor over the diffuse value, type I, and fast forward it, and click it to blue. Hover your cursor over that and type I, and looks pretty good. So we get it to change colors when we have the cursor clicked down. And that looks like a really nice animation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get this animation prepped for render. So we basically made this for the OpenGL render engine. So we're going to show you the settings you need to render this out to a video just very quickly. So let's turn off the empty view so that you don't see that this empty here when you're rendering. And let's render OpenGL render options, make it a full sample, make sure that's checked, and 16, and render OpenGL options. Alright, that's looking pretty good. And now you want to go into your user preferences, and this is important. You want to make sure that you have your anti-aliasing set. So the system section, you want to make sure you have it to multi-sample 8, and you want to try to mirror all the settings we have here. And then you want to go into the actual render settings tab and put the resolution to 100% and change the format to MPEG, encoding to MPEG 4 and 14,000 and 14,000. And you want to change this to MPEG 4 as well. And if you put audio in your file, you want to make it MP3 and choose an output folder on your computer. And you can choose the desktop, and you can type video name, the name of your video, click accept, and pull this window back in. And you can play your animation until you think it's the point your animation has ended, and you can put frame 239, and that's pretty much it. You can click render, OpenGL render animation. You want to click that, but I'm not going to click that because I don't want to render it right now. But if you want to render it to a video right now, you would click that. So now that we're done making this animation, you can add a whole bunch more fun animations to it with our Ultimate Motion Elements pack that we will include in the card here and as a link in the description. So if you could check out that link, that would be nice. It would support our channel if you would get Ultimate Motion Elements. And also, we'll be making a lot more fun tutorials like this, so you'll want to maybe drop a comment here to suggest a different tutorial, like this video, and subscribe for more tutorials. So please check out those links in the description. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more tutorials from partners in coordinated rendering of ideas, motion, and effects.